So I thought it was about time that I put up my, I don't know what you used to call it, like neurodiversity discovery story. Is that what you call it? I don't know. That's what I'm going to call it. I think we all have one. And I think for women, I guess it's quite common for that to be longer than for men. Obviously, there are exceptions to that rule. So when I was really tiny, I had loads of problems at school. I was always told that I was not putting enough effort in. I was a smart girl, but I needed to try harder. And I was trying really hard. I remember not being able to read the time, and I must have been about 10, and my dad was like shouting at me for not being able to do it, and I think he thought he was encouraging me, but it just stressed the hell out of me. And eventually I discovered digital watches, which are pretty effective. And then I also have memories of times tables, my parents trying to come up with all sorts of ways for me to know how to do them, and wasn't going to work. I still don't know my times tables, so and I'm not going to say how old I am, but I still don't know them. So I guess, like many people with neurodiversity, I really struggled as a little one. And I was always told that I had anger problems and that I was really tantrumy. I'm not sure how true that actually was. I don't know if it's just that, I don't know. Well, anyway, when I was about 11, my mum had retrained from nursing, which is what she did originally, to doing teaching. And she discovered all this stuff about different kind of learning needs, and came across dyslexia during that. And so she started to kind of specialise in that, and I think she saw some of herself in it, and then started to notice that I had a lot of the things that were mentioned in the dyslexia breakdown of what it is to be dyslexic. So I remember when she was doing her training, she did, I think it's called the RAT, R-A-T, it's a great name, on me, just so that she could practice, and I came out very positively as dyslexic, but obviously she was my mum and she was training, so that's not valid. It's not a valid form of proof that you have dyslexia. But from that point on, from the age of about 11, we were pretty certain that I was dyslexic. And then it wasn't until I was 18 that I got officially diagnosed. I was going to university, and universities are much more supportive than schools, I discovered, for people with dyslexia. Like, they paid for my test and they gave me all sorts of support. I got mentoring from the staff there. There were lots of training sessions on how to do planning, which I clearly haven't done for this video. Lots of mentoring, and I got to use a computer at last for my exams. But I wouldn't have got a degree if I hadn't had a computer to do my exams on, because they were really long, and I don't think I'd have been able to write at the speed, plan at the speed. I couldn't have done it. So things kind of improved from there. Having the diagnosis was genuinely, it made such a difference, because it meant that I could say to people, look, I'm dyslexic, like, especially because I'm an actor. It really helps to be able to say to anyone I'm going in for an audition with, to be like, well, I might need the script a little bit sooner so that I can run over it and learn it. I actually find that I need to learn my lines off by heart before going in, because I find it really hard to read out loud. So I need to know the lines before getting in there, basically. Anyway, there were still some things that I think I didn't really attribute to the dyslexia, that didn't add up. There were things that I thought were dyslexia, but not everyone who's dyslexic seemed to have issues with these things. Okay, so I realised that I was not very specific about the kind of things that I wasn't sure were my dyslexia. So I've done another little video to explain what things I thought might have been aside from my dyslexia. So it's particularly for me, it's things like distractibility. Like I find it very hard to keep focused on a task, and I know that can be common in dyslexia as well. But what often happens for me is my brain will get distracted by something else, and then I just end up in this long line of doing a whole load of different tasks that I wasn't intending to do, and the thing that I really intended to do doesn't get done. And that kind of is part of the reason I think that I struggle to complete things. I'm really, especially things that I really want to do, I find it really hard to actually get things done. And whilst I know that that can be an issue for people with dyslexia, I kind of thought that it was more extreme, I guess, than was ever mentioned to me by any dyslexia specialist. So that's the kind of thing that I noticed. And now I realise some of the things with like emotional dysregulation could also be to do with ADHD. Especially some of the stuff I was talking about earlier, like when I was a child getting quite upset. Apparently ADHD can affect how extremely you feel things. So yeah. Right, back to the video. And then a friend of mine got diagnosed with ADHD, and he was like, wait, maybe you should look into ADHD too. And I was like, no, why would I have, because in my head at the time I imagined ADHD to be a hyperactive little boy, specifically little boy actually in my head, running around causing chaos. And I didn't really realise what ADHD actually was. And then like in the next couple of years after that, I got curious and I started to do some research, and especially things that were mentioned about ADHD in women I really connected to. And I just, I started to think, oh, maybe there is some truth to this. So long story short, I ended up going to is it a psychologist? Someone who diagnoses ADHD. I have very bad memory issues, as you can probably tell. But yes, I went to go and get tested for ADHD, and came out very definitely having ADHD. And following that, I kind of discovered actually that most of my family, because my sister then got diagnosed with ADHD, it's very genetic. And although I haven't started taking medication or anything like that for my ADHD, it's just helpful to know. And I've started noticing things that I do and that I've always berated myself for. And it's not because I'm lazy. It's not because I'm a really rubbish human being. It's just because my brain works in a different way. And it means that I've started to be able to do things to help myself. I'm going to say very specifically started to, because I got diagnosed last year. So I'm still kind of figuring things out and learning what works for me and what doesn't. I'm going to try body doubling. Apparently that's really good. And I think it's the kind of thing that would work for me, because I really like working with other people in the room. But my husband is he's brilliant, and we have a great time together. But the problem is that like whenever we're in a space together, we just chat and we do things, and I can't bring my work down and work with my husband in the same room, because we'll end up talking about, I don't know, some kind of 14th century castle in Essex. I don't know. Something will come up. So I'm looking into like the internet versions of body doubling and seeing where that goes. Anyway, that's a very long-winded version of my story. If anyone's got any hints and tips, that would be really helpful. And anyone who is also dyslexic and has ADHD, I'd really love to know how you found out. And I don't know where the line of dyslexia starts and the line of ADHD ends and starts and intermingles, and I wonder whether it's all part of the same thing. And labels are all very nice, but it's a version of neurodiversity, basically. I am not a scientist, you can probably tell. Anyway, yeah, let's chat. I want to know more and I need to learn. And let me know if this has been helpful for you, or if you kind of connect and identify with any of the things I've said. Anyway, I'm going to go and drink my cup of tea, which I was going to have with me whilst I chatted here, but it's probably gone cold now. Alright, see you guys. Bye.